broadcast.
Are you going to stick with your Viking background, Shirley?
No, I turned off my video.
No, you haven't. No, you did.
Oh, yeah.
Right. We'll give everybody a little bit of time to get in here. Maybe another minute or two. It's always a little bit of time between the conference call and when everybody joins and you're like, you can only ask questions that have like a 2-word answer. We're at that point.
I understand.
Perfect. Well done. How is everybody in 3 words?
Really, really good.
It's the first day I put makeup on and I was excited.
Everybody at least has the top half
and I
dressed.
did my hair. It's not up in a ponytail.
And you look lovely. Yeah, it's easy.
I know, John, you have those issues right now. I know how you're struggling with that. Doing
Oh yeah, I do like this little side part, you know, just a little bit. Do some styling. Yeah, the mascara was the first to go for me, if I'm gonna be honest.
Never go without mascara.
Or lipstick.
Yep.
Unless it's on back order from Amazon for 3 months.
I know.
All right, I think we can probably go ahead and get started. So thank you for everybody for joining us today. I'm JP Narowski and I'm the moderator for our panel. Give a little quick backstory to myself. I am, my background is in development. I've been coding for about 15 years now. And I guess you could say I'm one of the older pioneers of the CRM industry. I built Karma CRM about 10 years ago, and we had a CRM for a while, and then we kind of realized that there's a trend of speakers, trainers, and coaches using our software. So we kind of thought about it, and actually Shirley and I met and we talked about, you know, what would it look like if we specialized in a specific industry? So we decided to create a tool that was specific to speakers, coaches, trainers, but primarily speakers. And that's kind of what we ended up doing. And then Karma Speaker was born. And our mission is to get you booked solid, or to help you get booked solid. And, you know, it's a tool, but there's also mindset, and there's also, you know, partnerships and people we want to connect you with, and ideas that we want to help you understand as far as what that means. So those are kind of some of the things that we want to help you with, but primarily through the CRM. Part of that leads us to today with this panel is kind of, you know, adjusting to the current climate. There's a lot of changes, a lot of potential shifts in the industry, and not all of it's bad. I think there's a lot of potential for, you know, really thriving in this new climate, and it's going to take some shifts of mindset and mentality, but I think that's what we hope to discuss a little bit today as well. We've put together some great minds from the evolving speaker landscape on our panel today. And we have a really great group. And I'm wondering if everybody's willing to introduce himself. If we go down the line, maybe starting with Shawn, and just do about a minute or so.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, JP. Shawn Rhodes here. A few of you in the attendee list already know me, but for those that don't, I'm a keynote speaker. It's the majority of my business. I also run an extremely systems-driven outbound sales and marketing campaign that generates most of that keynote business into the multiple 6 figures until about 3 weeks ago, when most of those events either canceled or shifted. But love what I do. Love being able to provide the speaking community with what didn't exist when I started about a decade ago, and that was how to use a CRM effectively to conduct outreach, get prospects in a pipeline, and be able to actually predict revenue in this industry. So I'm happy to be here.
Happy to have you.
Oh, look at that. That's me.
Yes, it is.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I am Lauren Schieffer, CSP. I am the Colonel's daughter, and I am a keynoter, and I also do training and corporate consulting. My primary focus is how we treat each other and choosing significance over success. And let's see, I've got 15 years speaking under my belt and had a solid calendar up until about a month ago. And 2 books on the market. One that's going to be a whole lot sooner than I thought it was going to be because I've got lots of time on my hands. And I hail out of the Kansas City area. Go Chiefs.
Welcome.
Hey, I'm Charles. I am a humorous motivational speaker, and I've been doing full-time speaking for about 25 years. Oh, it goes by like that. I speak a good deal throughout the year. That's my primary source of income. I've written 4 books, including The 7 Powers of Success, Shattering the Glass Slipper, Destroying Fairy Tale Thinking Before It Destroys You. I've also written some comedy books, one that I'm particularly happy about, which is called I'm Not Crazy, but I Might Be a Carrier, which I think's kind of fun. I primarily speak at business functions for conferences or annual meetings. My primary topics are personal development, customer service, and leadership.
Wonderful. Thank you for the intro.
Hi, everyone. My name is Caryn Ross. I am a career business mindset coach, and I'll explain that in a minute, as well as a motivational speaker, especially how the mindset plays a key role in all your successes in your career and your life. I'm also a certified life coach. Speaking is not my primary income, but it definitely is my supplemental to land me a lot of my lead gens for my coaching clients. So I have a lot of success when I go to events and meeting my clients and establishing a good client base. One thing I do focus on is I help individuals really get those careers and lives they desire. And to me, it's not all about the processes and the strategies that can write you an awesome resume, cover letters, teach you how to use LinkedIn, blah, 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 blah. A lot of people can do that. I think what makes me unique in this industry is I really carry with me, you have to have a mindset blueprint. You only can create your successes if your head and your thoughts are in the game. And that's what I really coach about and I speak about. And primarily most of my speaking engagements go with women, developing a motivational and confidence mindset as women. And I'm author to Keys to Being a Highly Successful Woman. Thank you everyone for having me.
All right. Thank you for being here. And mindset is certainly a very important topic for today and for, the next few months, and really forever, but specifically now. Before we dive into a couple questions, I wanted to outline a couple pieces of housekeeping. First, this recording will be sent to you. So, you can take notes, but you will send the entirety of it as well following the actual event. And if you want to ask a question, use the Q&A feature, which is down in the bottom in your Zoom panel. And we will be following these, and then we'll get to a Q&A session towards the end. And if you have any follow-up questions, you can also do so in chat. Just to give a little context to kind of why are we here, there's kind of 2 different ways that you can respond to this situation at hand. Gigs getting canceled, lots of uncertainty in the market. You could really kind of be paralyzed and do less and use the time to drink more, which some people might have resorted to even in the best of focus. Or you could look at this as an opportunity to really focus and diversify and see how you can respond to this. And I think that across the board, businesses are kind of in 1 or 2 categories, not just in the speaking industry, but you can either, just kind of throw your hands up and say, it's out of my hands, I'm just going to let it happen. Or you can kind of take initiative and figure out, how can I double down? Like, what could I do to prevent this in the future? Not prevent COVID or something like that, but to be more diversified. And, how can I have the right attitude? So those are kind of the goals today, is just to look at how can we actually, thrive during this situation, and how can we come out of it stronger, because things are going to get back to normal. Speaking engagements are going to resume. They might take a while for things to get rescheduled, but it's going to happen. So how can you be ready to hit the ground running when that happens? So I guess to get started, in a general sense, I'd just love to ask our panelists, like, what do you see happening right now? Like, what is the landscape like? What's happening during this COVID-19 climate? It's a bit of a loaded question. We could probably cover the whole panel in just that one, but does anybody want to take a stab at talking about that?
I'll jump in, JP. Because I'm targeting 99% of my pipelines full of associations, I'm seeing a lot of them either straight cancel their event for the entire year. So if it's an annual event, it's not happening again until 2021, or I'm seeing them push their events into the fall of this year. The challenge to that, of course, is that it shakes up not only decision-making timelines, which is what a lot of us predicate our buying cycles on, but it also shakes up the potential budget available, because a lot of these organizations are now struggling to survive. They're still locked into that $50,000 contract at the Bellagio that now they can't fill with anybody to get in the room, because we're all not allowed to go anywhere now. So it's really a precarious time to have associations as the main source of work for a lot of us. That's what I'm finding.
I
Sure.
would agree with that as well. An additional problem that I've found that my associations are having is that most associations are paid events as opposed to a corporate event where it's mandated by the company that they attend. So even if everything returned to normalcy tomorrow, businesses have been impacted by this whole economic duress. So their members aren't able to pay the fees they're finding. So they can't pay the fees. So a lot of associations are shutting down their events, like Shawn said, not only for this year, but on through, and they're not scheduling until next year. They want to give everybody a chance to settle down and build their businesses back up.
Yeah, everything that I had on my calendar through mid-June slid off like ice, but I've been very fortunate that they've all postponed. I haven't had anybody out and out cancel on me. Some of them postponed to the fall in optimism. A couple of them just set it back up for 1 year from now. We're going to do it. We'll see you all in 2021. And that posed an interesting challenge for me, because at that point is the question arises, is the deposit forfeit, or does the deposit roll over for 12 months from now?
Right.
And for the 3 that has happened so far, I've just rolled it over. I've got it in escrow, which just means it's not income for me this year. But I'd rather maintain the client relationship than say, nope, that's mine, and next year you're going to have to pay me again. So to me, the client relationship is more important than that, than spending the money that I have in the bank account right now. So I've been fortunate that everything thus far has postponed. Nothing has out and out canceled on me.
What about the other panelists? Have you seen things cancel, or is it also been postponed?
Well, for me, it hasn't canceled, but it hasn't postponed. I actually had a call. I was speaking at a huge chamber thing in March, and she called me and she's like, I don't know what we're doing right now, but I really don't want to lose the connectivity we have with the chamber. So it's pretty major with a lot of corporate networking that goes on in North Jersey. And she was actually looking to me how I could have presented in a virtual format and maybe bringing it up virtually for the next 6 months and doing the meetings every other month. So I think it's just some of people know a little bit about my background aside from coaching and teaching. I'm also an online college instructor. So I have a good expertise in e-learning platforms and how to do things virtually and what works and doesn't work, from a student's perspective and from teaching. And I think what is happening right now in the current environment is we all literally in 2 weeks got slammed and said, we're going online, from universities to corporations to associations to conferences. Everything is now shut and everybody is looking for another way to deliver and keep connectivity with people. We have to do this social distancing, yet everybody's trying to stay connected and what the best avenues are. So I sat for a week and I sulked and I created my mindset misery, I call it. And I owned it for the week. And I woke up the following Monday and I said, excuse my French, this is BS. I am an e-learning platform expert. I'm missing opportunities right now. And that is what I start rejuvenating into my business and maybe presenting myself a little differently under webinars, connecting with people at a different level in bigger groups. So it's not necessarily speaking. It might be 15, 20 people and sharing some expertise. And I'm starting now to get some feedback on that. People are now hearing, we heard the other night, we are in this situation until April 30th minimally. Some states until June. I was just told, my friend in DC was told June 2nd, they're shut down. So the spirit of our positivity is going to last so long, and people are going to look for this, you know, socialness and connectivity. And I think as speakers, there's a lot of opportunities for us to offer that in different avenues.
Yeah, that is well said. And yeah, that was one of the things that we wanted to kind of get into, one of the bigger topics. And I think you kind of set up a good segue for it. But, you know, I guess what are you doing to adapt and thrive in the coming months? You know, and we'll talk about technology as well, but what changes are you making to accommodate for, you know, an April 30th and potentially May and beyond, where we're all in our houses and all the extroverts, which is probably a lot of us, are going a little crazy?
Yeah, I can jump in on that, JP. So for me, I'm a firm believer in the Grant Cardone philosophy. Think what you like about him as a person, but he does have this beautiful philosophy in my mind that in times of retraction, it's those who expand that have the leg up, that will succeed when the market does finally rebound. And so I encourage all the people I know, do not contract with the market. Don't shut it all down and get caught up with your Netflix, unless that's what you were doing with your time anyway, in which case keep doing it. But for me, it's about not only modifying the way that I am reaching out to prospects and clients, making sure that I'm continuing to provide value, check in on them. So we are changing the way that we sell, but then also this gives me the opportunity to ask myself, in the world that's changing right now, because it'll never go back to the way it was. So what are people learning now that's going to maintain past us all going back for in-person meetings? I think part of that is going to be a lot more geographically separated employees, a lot more work from home type situations, and businesses that run differently as a result of what they're experiencing now. So I'm creating those intellectual pieces of property, books, modifying my programs now to get ready for when it does turn back on, so that I can be ideally suited to take advantage of that world that we're all going to step into.
I wanted to add one thing with Shawn when he said, I like the expansion. I'm a huge person of processes, and when you're down and we're in a contraction mode right now, this is the best opportunity to look at your processes of your business. You know, I know you're trying to expand right now, but everybody's like this right now. Everybody's a little fearful of their jobs. They don't, especially in the speaker world, they're not looking to do conferences right now. They're looking to hold heads and head count. So step back when, instead of watching the Netflix, like Shawn said, because I was in a week of that, caught up on every Netflix thing I haven't seen in a year. I'm really starting to redevelop my processes and how I can more efficiently do my business. And a great hint, there's a lot of college students out there right now that are all online and bored as crap, sitting home with their parents and being taken care out of their campus life. Summer is coming. They've lost a lot of their internships of going into offices and places, especially the communication people, marketing people. And this is a great opportunity maybe to hire a summer intern and help them, you know, build your social media campaigns, build your marketing platforms a little bit better. And a lot of them, my intern is getting credits from me this summer.
Wow.
And she doesn't have to go into the class, and she's learning, and she's with a business, and we can work virtually, and it's all been approved, because the universities are opening up to this now, because they don't have other choices. They can't get people on campuses, and internships are now canceling on them because people aren't allowing people in the offices. So think about that for your business as a way to expand and grow and get some help and resources you need to make your processes more efficient.
Well, I just want to ask real quickly, what was the process like for actually finding that intern? It's specifically connecting with the college, finding the interns, and then making sure they got credit for it. Was that a tedious thing, or what could some of the listeners here do to potentially replicate that great strategy?
Okay, so I'm a little fortunate. I have college-age children, so, and they have a lot of friends. And I started putting it out there, but I also went up on Instagram and had my kids go up on Instagram and say I was looking for an intern, and it blew up. Also, if you have LinkedIn, they're all hiding in LinkedIn right now. They're all looking for internships. And if you're hiring LinkedIn and have Sales Navigator, search college students right now. You can get very specific in that age group, recent graduates, graduates of 2019, 2021, because there's even people that are graduating 2019, still haven't found a job, and they're looking to do anything right now to keep current in their skill set. They're out there, and a lot of them, my son just told me last night, 3 of his friends were just canceled their internships for the summer in New York City. So now they are scrambling to find something to do online. And if they can earn credits, bonus for you. You don't even have to pay them. You just have to write a few things for them and make sure you're giving them the hours every week.
Great.
So
Thank you for sharing that.
They're all hiding on LinkedIn. I'm telling you, they're all on LinkedIn looking for jobs.
It's a great platform. Lauren, what about you? What are you kind of doing right now to?
Well, okay. First and foremost, there's a lot of people talking about fear and anxiety right now. Don't be in fear. Don't be in anxiety. This is going to come back. We don't know when it's going to come back, but our careers are going to come back. Yes, Shawn, they're going to be different. Different is not necessarily bad, but it's going to come back. So what I'm doing is working on positioning myself for when it does come back. I am not, and I'm not discounting anyone who is doing this. We all have to do what works for us. I am not aggressively selling right now. All of us have been bombarded with the emails, COVID-19 sale, now's the time. No, nobody wants to hear that.
Nope.
Like the ambulance chasing of sales. So what I did immediately, and it was not an original idea, I got it from a panel discussion that was hosted by NSA, so it was not my original idea, but I took it and I ran with it. And I reached out to everyone that I'd spoken for in the last year and a half. Individually, personally, I didn't send an email blast. I actually typed all of the emails myself that said, how can I help? My area of expertise is respectful communication. Right now, everybody's trying to figure out how to communicate online and in group chats, and there's anxiety. So let me do a webinar for you. Maybe I can do a 10-minute video. And if you want one-on-one coaching, I can do that. And let me be very clear, I'm not selling you anything. I'd like to do this for you for free. And I sent out, in one day I sent out 58 emails and I got 10 responses. And so I've been doing things for them. And it is a little mercenary because when people go back to spending money, I think I'm gonna be top of mind because I partnered with them for free. So again, I'm not the only one doing that. It's just something that I could do that kept me sane. I came home from NSA Winter Conference with a squillion great ideas. Some of them came directly from Shawn. Thank you very much. And I started putting those into place, and so I'm just continuing prospecting. I'm continuing looking for late 2020 and all of 2021 to start reaching out and making those initial inquiries. I'm doing that because I believe it's going to come back. And the other thing, no, I'm not binging Netflix. But
I had a good week though, Lauren.
I get that. I understand that. But what I have been doing that is my curl up in a corner and suck my thumb time.
Yeah.
Is finishing my 3rd book.
Awesome.
Because when it comes back, I want that in my hand to have on the back table to sell. So I am moving forward. I'm just doing it in a behind the scenes, more subtle fashion than being out there in your face. Now's the time to buy kind of thing. And I know, Shawn, that's not what you meant, and that's not how you approach things. But there are people out there, because I've seen them, and there are speakers out there doing that, and I've seen that too. It's just not who I am. So that's what I'm doing.
I
Sure.
also want to give some feedback to what you said, Lauren, with that people out there. I have 3 friends that are very high level pharmaceutical companies right now, struggling a little bit with the leadership stuff going on, everybody being virtual, they're hands on. They said they can't stand how they're being bombarded by these people now. They said
Well,
it's annoying them. They're just trying to keep structure right now. And my friend was being in front of me because you're not doing that to people, are you? I said, no, I'm not.
well, I wrote a blog last week that was based on my husband, because my husband is currently sitting at our dining room table managing 8 teams in 2 countries. And he's never had to do that virtually. And so I wrote a blog, just how do you communicate with your suddenly remote team when they're accustomed to being able to walk down and pop their head into your office and ask you a question.
Right.
And that has been highly requested from many of my clients. So
Even
that's
remote teams could use that advice. I think it's just, you can never learn too much about how to communicate well with others digitally. That's great. We'll definitely connect that resource too. We're putting together some resources for a lot of what we're going to talk about here today, and just some other strategies for coping. We're going to put these on our website, so we can definitely feature that as well. I think that's a really great one to,
Have to
very
provide
relevant.
John, I have a question, and maybe this will help anybody. Can our technology in the Commerce CRM allow us to maybe video or even audio our voices into emails?
That's a great feature suggestion. I think if we're going to talk karma stuff, which I'd love to do, maybe we could keep it towards the end. I want to make sure we add as much value, but I love all the ideas. We're trying to keep an open mind about where this can go, and I think our software will shift, as a result of some of the things that we're looking into and some trends we're seeing. So thanks for bringing that up. And I wanted to give you an opportunity to respond as well, if you had any thoughts on kind of what you're doing right now.
I do. I'm a professional speaker, and speakers always have opinions, don't they? Love words about making sure this is the time to create. That's one of my big 3 as well. Making sure that time is set aside to be creative, to create new content. This is an opportunity. I know that sounds so motivational speakery and so cliche, but it is an opportunity that we're likely not going to have again anytime soon. Just time to sit back and create. I've got several projects that I'm working on, and one of my main focuses is creativity. The first thing we did, I don't know if anybody else on the panel has experienced this, but the first thing we did, I'm talking about the first week that we got all this news, is we immediately cut expenses, slashed expenses. We reduced our total budget by about 2/3. 2/3 we cut off. We aren't a traveling family. I travel a lot, so I don't like to spend my recreational time traveling, but we eat out a lot, and we do a lot of fun little local things. I have 2 kids, a 16-year-old and an 18-year-old. But lately, we've been trying to focus our creativity and our efforts, instead of going out and spending money eating out. We've been spending our time thinking about how to create fun inside the house. For my anniversary, my kids, 16 and 18, dressed in nice clothes, put on white aprons, and served my wife and I dinner, which we had to make. Don't get me wrong, they didn't make it.
Not yet.
But that was a lot of fun. So first thing we did is we cut expenses up to and including, we had to let go a couple of part-time people, and we reduced hours on one of our full-time people. So that was a tough decision, but we felt like we needed to do that to make sure we had a plan for, who knows, could be 2 months, could be 6 months, we don't know. And that, Lauren, you mentioned that NSA webinar, I heard that too, that was excellent. And the amount of time that everyone was mentioning was 6 months. I think it's great to have a 6-month plan, but be surprised when we're only shut in for 2 months. That would be awesome. But another thing that we're really focusing on is marketing, making sure our website is up to date, making sure that our email lists are healthy, and that we're working ahead in our newsletters. We normally send out a newsletter once a month. We have blogs more often than that, but so now is an opportunity to create that content as well. So we're keeping busy. I think the idea, everybody wants to keep busy, but the idea is, are you keeping busy doing creative avoidance things, working around the house, or, which is fine, which I've painted a room and I've touched up my exterior in my home, but are you making sure that you're still focused on your job, making sure that you have a positive outlook and knowing, like Lauren said, that there's a tomorrow coming and you want to position yourself well for that?
Yeah, I agree. It's not a 2-month forced vacation. It sounds like everyone here is
Right.
taking that opportunity. If I had to sum up, what was just said, I think it would be, don't operate in fear. I know there's a lot of uncertainty going on, but I think, getting fearful kind of causes you to go inward and to, stop looking to the future. So kind of looking at the abundance of what could come and being proactive, spending the time to actually use this to build your business. It's downtime. All my messages, my emails, aside from the, various e-commerce emails I get are down, and it gives me the time to, focus on the business more. So I think it's, that's what I'm hearing. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a couple other questions, but being proactive and using this time to develop and hit the ground running when things come back, that's kind of what I'm hearing from the panel here. And I think that's, that puts this into the context of maybe there's things that you've been putting off, projects that could really help your business that you weren't able to do before. And now you can use this as an opportunity to, dig into some of those things and, go through and get organized and get your processes in place. And, it's hard to do that in the day-to-day when there's a lot of just stuff going on and things you have to do and, tasks for every day.
And I wanted to mention to you as well, I forgot to add this, I have spoken to some speakers bureaus, and one of the most common comments that I'm getting from them is they are hearing a lot from a lot of speakers, 20 or 30 speakers a week, telling them that they offer webinar content. What my speakers bureaus are telling me is so far they aren't getting a lot of interest from clients, and I'm thinking, my feeling is that might be, I forget who said this, Lauren, maybe you said this, or maybe Caryn, that might be something that people come to realize as we move forward, that it's not going to be the same, so they might become more open to webinars. So it might be up to us to educate our clients and put that offer out there, like you said, Lauren, to kind of help take their hand and lead them toward that conclusion.
Well, and I think the defining line there, and this is just what I am seeing and my experience is, if it was a corporate event, they are much more open to transitioning that to virtual than if it's an association event, because corporate events, their employees get paid to come attend this day, this training, this event. With associations, there is an element of the people coming together from all over, and that togetherness is part of the event, which is a lot harder to happen virtual, which is why, as I am seeing, more of those are postponing than being willing to just transition immediately to virtual. And it takes, you can't just pull up Zoom for the first time and assume that you can present your keynote virtually. It takes some skill, and doing it poorly can maybe do more damage than not doing it at all, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's a good segue into kind of I wanted to talk a little bit about, what tools and what specific technologies and tools are you using to kind of, shift into this more remote landscape. And maybe we could, in addition to that, talk about, what does need to change in presentations to make it more appealing to, a web audience.
Well, okay, so I'm using whatever my clients are asking me to use. if I'm pre-recording, Zoom is the platform that I'm most comfortable with. So that is always going to be my default. But I've had 2 clients who have said, can we do something on Skype? So I fired up my Skype for the first time in 6 years or something, and did it on Skype. If it's just a quick couple of minute video, then I'm doing that on my cell phone. But I think what's really important is making sure that you've got good sound and good light, because and you know, there's a discussion of 2 green screen or 2 not green screen. I have a green screen that you know, I've put up. I haven't found the perfect background for it yet. I'm still playing with that. I may go to Shirley's Viking ship. I don't know. No, I won't go to Shirley's Viking ship. So I'm still playing around with the perfect background. But one thing that the green screen does allow you to do is to put your customer's logo up behind you with their permission. Other than that, you know, I've had a couple of people that have said, gosh, it's so nice to see you in your office being casual and being comfortable. And so I don't have an answer for the green screen, but good sound, good light. That's really important.
Okay, I'm gonna agree and disagree with Lauren a little bit. What I've been getting feedback, I think right now everybody's been raced into the virtual world, and not everybody's set up, you know, to do it. And people are appreciating the authenticity of people just getting on and helping. Why I'm seeing this? I am on Instagram. I have, you know, I have followers. I never utilized it. I utilize more as my motivational coaching side, but I've been going live a little bit more. And I'm getting it out in different avenues how I'm going live. And I'm going live like after dinner, feeding my kids with a glass of wine, speaking about something. And it's charged for like a new people coming in and meeting me and seeing a different side of my personality outside of just being a speaker on a stage or at a panel discussion. And I think they're starting to connect with me in a different way because I'm just being honest and real. And I'm not keeping my discussion topics to what I would go out and speak about or coach about. I'm keeping it, blending it holistically with their lives, you know, and I think it's creating like a different tempo for me and meeting new potential clients and potential avenues to speak. I've seen an increase in my LinkedIn followers now that they've seen me on Insta. I message people on LinkedIn, hey, I'm going Insta Live, you know, come up, even just join it for the day, some great tips on XYZ. And I'm bringing now other speakers in with me on the Insta Live. And they love the bantering back and forth of us just having a discussion like we are here. And I think it's a different temperament of how I'm presenting myself out in the speaking world. I'm not presenting myself as a speaker. I'm kind of presenting myself as a human that's going through this with everybody else. Does that make sense to anybody?
Yeah, it sounds like more bite-sized chunks. You have, if you're going to do more of the keynote style, make sure you have good lighting, make sure you have good microphone, green screen and logo. That could be really interesting. And then if you're going to, for all the rest of the time, break it up into more bite-sized, digestible chunks, because everybody's online, everybody's on social media now because they have nothing else to do. I can see both of those. Does anybody else want to contribute anything to that? And I guess to rephrase the question or reiterate, it's just, what technologies and tools are you using to kind of shift into this more digital landscape? And specific tools, anything beyond Zoom or things that we're familiar with would be great to hear about.
I want to get to that, but something Lauren said a while back, I really want to hear more about. Lauren, you had said, speaking of resources, you had mentioned that you put the deposits in escrow, so it wasn't income. How did you do that without getting taxed? Anytime I receive a check into my account, that's income for me, and we're set up as an LLC corporation. Or S corp. What are you doing to put something in escrow so that it doesn't become taxable?
I am not.
Oh, okay.
It is my term. It's an emotional escrow.
Okay.
Yes, deposits came in for just about everything that I had for spring paid me a deposit last fall. So that was taxable income for me last fall.
Right,
I have a savings account that it sits in,
right,
that I hold it in there until I actually do the engagement.
right.
And then I bring that into my cash flow. So for me, it's an emotional escrow, has nothing to do with taxes.
Okay,
New
I understand.
business.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good. Thank you for that.
All
You're
right.
welcome.
So yeah, Charles, Shawn, any recommendations on kind of tools or tactics in the digital world?
I'm actually going old school, strangely. I've been managing the multiple revenue streams in my business and client accounts, both on Karma and through Asana, which is a project management system. But I'm finding now, because there are so many more virtual events and digital opportunities to pursue, or virtual opportunities to pursue, that it's becoming difficult for me to still maintain focus on the most important things in my business. And so I've actually just begun incorporating a bullet journal, like paper, right, with pens and pencils and stuff, in order to make sure that that does stay top of mind for me throughout my day. And once I get those big chunks knocked out, those big strategic items, small chunks in a day that add up to large results down the road, then I go into my project management system and into my Karma CRM and make sure that I'm knocking everything else out. So this has actually forced me to kind of take a step back technologically, but still be able to progress with my business going into the future.
Interesting. Got to go old school to get to the new school. So we got about 10 minutes here, and I have one more question, or I got plenty more questions, but the biggest one, I think, and then we'll go through some Q&A too, is, and we've, I guess, kind of been talking about this all throughout, so it may be a bit redundant, but what is the biggest piece of advice for speakers and trainers to get through the near future and make the most of the current situation? And maybe we could start with Charles.
I think there are two ways to make your income, or two ways to control your income. One is through expense, and the other is through income. So or two ways to control your money. So expenses, you can't forget that. I would encourage. I heard somebody mention in another format the possibility of going into debt, and they were talking about some options to keep your business going. You do I'm not a financial advisor, but I would, if we were just buddies, if we were just talking person to person, I would encourage you to let that be your last option, because that's real money that's going to have to be paid back, and you don't want to do that. When we first started out this business, my wife and I had ourselves encumbered with $100,000 worth of debt. It took us years to beat that back. Now we're down to about 98,000, which we're really proud of. I'm kidding. No.
Fighting the good fight.
we really beat that back. But it took us years to beat that back, and I just wouldn't wish that on anybody. So slash those expenses, like some financial advisors say, live on beans and rice if you have to, but do not play with that if you don't have to. And the second thing is, we haven't talked about this, but managing, and I think, Lauren, we've got to touch on a little bit, but managing the events that you already have. I think this is a time of confusion for a lot of people. So it's an excellent opportunity for leadership. If you step up, be proactive, contact your clients, like it's been already mentioned. Be flexible first. Be flexible. There are sometimes some people. I'd want to hear from our other panelists if anybody has outright canceled and wanted all their money back. That would be an interesting thing. I think people would be lovely to hear. I've had a couple people do that, and we've had to have some conversations. That's a tough conversation, but I believe in customer service. You don't say no, but you say no, comma, but. You come up with other options, including being able to do some virtual meetings and supplement that time until you can postpone it. So, yeah, there's a lot to be done, and if anything, this time seems to me like all of a sudden, with the excellent advice I'm getting today from other panelists and what I've already been thinking. To me, my calendar looks full until I go back on the road again. I've got a lot to do, and I'm not sure how I'm going to get it all done. And for me, that energizes me and excites me.
Charles, I think you bring up good points on lowering expenses, but I have a little different thought process on it right now. Everybody's struggling right now. Smaller businesses are struggling. Smaller marketing firms are struggling. They're losing. It's created a little bit of an opportunity for me to find some extra support help at a lower cost. And we're kind of helping each other right now. And then I feel I'm creating some great relationships at a lower cost. I'm doing some marketing things that especially because I'm weak on the technology side. I just hate everything about it. Setting up links, all that, how they get into my email. And I found a couple key people that are concerned about their business right now. We linked on LinkedIn, and it is really developing great friendships, relationships. They're doing things more budget friendly for me. They're looking at me to be a resource to them when they go out and life starts getting back to normal, to give them good resources and to link them with other people to do business with. It's keeping them busy. It's keeping me more consciously expense friendly in my budget right now. And it's still allowing me to create some opportunities that I've been putting on the back burner, because now I have all this great time to do them. And I just need a little help. I can't, I can't, especially on the technology side. So for me, I definitely am about lowering the expenses. I've cut some things in my budget, but I'm also, I think, reevaluating where I'm putting the money so that it's going to benefit me when we get back on the horse running again, that I'm ready to go. And I'm creating some opportunities now in the virtual world too, because I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but I feel, we're going to get through this and things are going to get back to normal, but it could be reappear again. And we have to be ready and proactive if that happens. Like, this is our lesson learning phase. And now let's be proactive, going forward if something like this occurs again.
I agree. Shawn, what are your thoughts on kind of the biggest piece of advice and looking forward for our listeners?
I'm going to say it because we have a drinking game that's unbeknownst to most of our attendees, but I have to say the words feast or famine, and then everybody has to take a drink, all the panelists. So now it's done. But
I didn't sign up for this.
Just because the events industry has stopped doesn't mean our businesses have to. And all these panelists are all each in their own way, and many of us in tandem ways, working to continue to grow our speaking businesses and our business in the expert space during this downtime. And just like Charles, like, my calendar is busier than it's ever been, not because I have clients that are calling me to speak at their stages anymore, but because I'm choosing to invest myself in the things that I need to do to build my business so they can continue to grow with whatever the future might bring. And it's really that kind of mentality that, we have to take the initiative and the control of our own destinies. That makes us a great speaker on any stage, but it also makes us great business people as well.
Great. Hey, Shawn, somebody made the comment that you're a guru you're brilliant regarding speaker agreements and never having to refund the client's money. Could you speak to that for a second? And excuse me, JP, I don't mean to. I don't mean to be asking questions, but these folks have so much. These people have so much information. I want to take advantage of it while they're here.
Hey, we want to help. This is all good stuff.
Yeah, I'm happy to connect with JP and Shirley to provide the exact clause in my contract that prevented me from having to refund in whole or in part any of the fees that had already been paid, and to secure those future speaking engagements. Because these were all executed prior to the force majeure kind of thing that's happening these days, I kind of have the legal precedent, so to speak. But basically what it states, it's a couple of clauses that I built into every proposal starting about a year and a half ago that are basically cancellation clauses. If the client cancels up to a certain amount of days prior to the event, here's the financial agreement that we're all bound to honor. If I cancel, here's, I'm going to provide you with a speaker at my cost. I'm going to fly out and perform, deliver my talk at whatever event you're going to have in the future next year, or whenever that event next reoccurs. And so I'm happy to provide that to JP and Shirley, and they can make sure everybody that's on this masterclass has access.
I appreciate that, Shawn. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah.
I always struggle with those agreements.
Yeah, the legal side is not my favorite either.
Is anyone going to add anything about national emergency language in their contracts after this? Yeah.
Someone who is, not to pitch someone else, but I'm going to, someone that I recommend everyone with a speaking business talk to is Russ Riddle. Russ Riddle is an NSA member out of the North Texas chapter. He is a lawyer. He is an IP lawyer, and man, he's the best there is.
It's good to know. Sounds like we got to talk to Russ too.
I would highly recommend that.
And Lauren, I wanted to give you an opportunity too to answer that last question. What would one piece of advice be that you could give?
So if I go back to that NSA panel discussion that was so amazing, I was amazed to find that someone quoted my father. There is something that the Colonel said to me through my whole life. I subsequently discovered that I think it was Zig Ziglar originally, but the Colonel was the first person I ever heard say it. So there's lots of things that I attribute to my father because he's the one who said it to me. And that is, if there, don't ever be nervous if your heart is in service.
Mm.
Which means, yeah, it's easy to be nervous right now, but if you shift that focus to how can I be of service? How can I help? Then that shifts the mindset and truly creates a partnership between you and your clients. Your clients didn't want to cancel you any more than you wanted to be canceled. And they're struggling with the exact same things that you're struggling with. I mean, think about this. The speakers in general, especially if all you do is keynotes, have lost their income for the foreseeable future. So have meeting planners. So have hotels. So have caterers.
Right.
So if we can partner with them and be in as much service as possible while we are still doing our prospecting and still writing our IP and still doing all that we need to be doing, then those of us who are doing that as compared to the ambulance chasing selling are the ones that are going to come out on top. Focus on being of service as we continue through this incredibly unusual storm that we are all enduring.
That's beautiful.
That is well said.
Thank you.
For me, I'm a mindset coach, and listen, I'm very authentic and honest. I hit a bad mindset a couple weeks ago, and this is my motto right now. Focus is the key right now. I say this to all my corporate clients, everyone. If you are looking at all this as obstacles right now, like you just feel like every day you're getting bombarded with another obstacle with this, you're listening to the news, you're like, oh great, now we're in April, now we're in June, we're this, we're that, I can't meet. This will continue to stagnate you, plain and simple. It will put you in this paralysis that you're not even gonna realize consciously you're doing. So I just say, shift your goals right now, like we're all doing here. We've all spoken about it today, how we're shifting our focus of our business, and really look forward to the action plan to meet those goals short term. Hopefully we're not going to be in this forever. That's my optimism. But somebody said here earlier, was it you, Charles? Somebody said, look out for 6 months. We're hoping for 2 months. So it's really shifting a focus right now and really not looking at this as an obstacle, but just like opportunities. Utilize this time now to do things you never can do because you've been sitting on stages and you've been traveling and you've been moving constantly. You're not moving right now. So do the things that you really want to do in your business when you're a little, downtime at home.
Yeah.
Ryan Holiday has a great book called The Obstacle is the Way.
It's a great
I highly
book.
recommend everybody.
Oh, thanks. I love books. I love this.
I'm reminded of another book too.
Thanks, Sean.
Yeah, what I'm kind of the essence of what I'm hearing people say, it reminds me of this book called Peak Performance. And they were talking specifically about amateur athletes versus professional athletes. And they both feel something before events. Amateur athletes have this feeling and they turn it to like lack of confidence and kind of fear, and it kind of can potentially affect them adversely. The professional athletes still have kind of the jitters and they still have this feeling, but they look at it as excitement. And just that perception that this is an exciting energy that I can use to my advantage versus seeing it as fear and as something internally, I think makes a difference between professional and amateur athletes. So I think looking at this time as potential opportunity and, you know, having the mindset of excitement around, look at the things I have time to do because that I didn't before, and working on my business seems like it could go a long way. And that's what I've been hearing from all of your great advice today.
Don't let fear in a little bit, because fear drives you a little bit. It does sometimes. Like, acknowledge if you have fear. I had a client call me yesterday. They're scared to death. They got to lay off employees. You're going to have a little fear right now. It's just turning it into, like, how can I create a new solution that's focus-based right now? Something's changed. The world, who said it earlier? The world is changing. Was that you, Shawn? The world is changing. Who said it? The world is changing. We're not going back to our ways.
I said the world was changing. I said that. I'm kidding.
Oh, okay. Whoever
Give
said
Charles
it.
credit.
All this great things going on right now. It's changing. So, like, if you're living in, like, everything's going to go back to normal, it's going to be a new normal. So if you create your new normal now from this, you know, and just let fear drive you a little bit, it can drive you in a good way too. It's going to be okay. We're all going to be
right.
okay.
We're all going to be okay. Yeah. So I wanted to, I know we don't have a lot of questions, but I wanted to allow a little bit of time for questions. I want to be respectful of everybody's time. We are wrapping up here. We have a few more minutes. So we can go to the Q&A. And I think one that was a good question was, how do you price webinars? You know, this is kind of probably a new territory for everybody. I don't know if anyone has any thoughts on it, but it's obviously a little different than a keynote, but you're still delivering high quality content. So what's the process like for that? And it isn't any different.
I heard, and there's the NSA event, Jay Baer was saying that his rule of thumb is 3/4 of the regular rate, just as a rule of thumb. This is new territory for me too. I'm the ta-da guy. I'm the splash. I'm the motivational, funny keynote guy. So we're having to rethink how we would want to do that as well. So maybe Lauren or Caryn might have more input on that.
Mine is, I take 20% off, and off of what my standard fee would be. And that 20% is because I'm not getting on an airplane and I'm sleeping in my own bed. But the 80% is honoring the fact that it is still my intellectual property. It's the time and effort that I have put into creating that intellectual property, and the time and effort that I am putting into presenting it in a video format. It's still the same IP. So that 20% merely represents the fact that I'm not getting on an airplane. Some people have said 50%. No, don't do that. Because you're then discounting the value of your intellectual property. Make sure that you honor the value of your intellectual property. And yeah, you can discount because you're not getting on an airplane, but I wouldn't go more than 20%. That's my opinion.
And we had another question, and kind of it seems like the essence of it is, you know, if all these events are postponed to, let's say, the fall, then the fall events are going to be happening a couple months later. Are people seeing, and with conversations, are these events going to be basically outright canceled or postponed? Are we going to see kind of just less events in general, or are they just going to be more closer together?
I heard one thing last night, speaking to a couple of my corporate clients. Unfortunately, we're in this ban right now of no gathering of 50 and more people, and they are not ready to put anything on the calendar right now until that's lifted and it's secure for a few months. And that's how they're drifting right now. You know, they're in the mode of, you know, keep business up, running as best they can with everybody virtual. If they can't gather the 50 or more people, they're going to hold off right now and make those decisions in 2021. Because, I mean, I'm not trying to discount where we are right now, but right now it's not their priority. Their priority is to keep business running, keep jobs, keep headcount, keep everybody, keep their staff. You know, I speak more at a corporate place, and keep their staff happy and motivated. So this is where the opportunity lies. How do you help them keep those staffs happy and motivated and going in a different virtual way to them?
Sure.
I think it's too early to tell, JP. I think that Karen's right. They're not focused on that. They're focused on keeping their businesses running. And our job is to be flexible and to be ready. And to push them for an answer. Well, is that going to hold? Is it not going to hold? Well, if you're going to postpone, when are you postponing to? Do you have a date? Let's get it on my calendar. I think that is unproductive at this time. Again, just my opinion. Everyone has opinions. They're like,
Noses. Noses.
yeah. They're like elbows.
I was wondering, does Zoom have a bleep feature?
Hey, you know, can I mention this too? Most is not all. We are still getting inquiries about dates. While I'm getting cancellations in July, I'm getting inquiries about July. So I'm doing my best. It's kind of astounding. I'm smiling and just taking the inquiry because I don't know I don't know if I'll be able to be there in July, but I'm not gonna talk my clients out of that either. So there are people who are still thinking about booking speakers for their events in the summer. So,
well, that's a really good point, Charles, because I've got, just last week, I got 3 inquiries for August and September.
right.
So it's not dead, guys. It's not dead.
Right.
We just have to be flexible.
That's
Yep.
good.
That is true. And
Shawn, you're not saying anything at all.
Shawn, we want Shawn. We want Shawn.
Oh, it's so you know, the question has been changed a couple of times. Let me try to remember what JP had originally asked. When the events industry is coming back, right? Is that what it was?
It was basically, you know, are we going to see basically just less events for the 2020, and are they just going to be closer together?
Yeah, so following this across about 435 accounts, last number, within Karma CRM, there's a plug for you. Yeah, what we're seeing is event cancellations through August. They're events that were scheduled in September on for the rest of the year. As of today, haven't seen very many of those push or cancel. Because everybody's anticipating this is going to lift in June, July, somewhere around that time, and we'll be able to meet again. As this continues, we're probably going to, you know, if it continues, I hope it doesn't, but if it does, we're going to see those events begin to push as well. I see, because I check every website of every organization that I'm targeting, almost at every point of outreach, because I want updated intel given the fact the marketplace is changing. So what I'm seeing as far as those events that are pushing it, their events or having events in 2021, they're still looking for speakers, as in the speaker roster page is check back with us soon.
Yeah.
So that's what I give everybody is that ray of hope, is that those, you know, fall events this year still on, although most of their speakers tend to be locked in or secured. So right now, most of ours, say 80 to 90% of the events in the pipeline are for delivery dates happening in 2021.
Good to know. And this is one other question, and maybe we'll get to this and one more. I want to be respectful of everybody's time. The question is from Steven, and it's, has anyone thought of licensing their content to companies moving forward? And I kind of will abstract this a bit higher to, are you doing things to diversify your income aside from keynoting? So we've talked a lot about how do you pivot keynoting to work in the current virtual space, but what about other things you might be doing that can, you know, take a lot of your IP and, you know, hopefully make you more money in addition, or just diversify?
Yes.
All right, that's the fastest answer we've had today.
I'd say that comes from a couple of different things. Most speakers don't end a career only having one stream of income. They set multiple ones up along the way, and that might look like coaching, consulting, workshops, might look like licensing IP or online courses. Obviously, now a lot of speakers are investing in all of those things because they realize now they have the downtime to do it. Another great book, if you know we haven't read it because most of us are entrepreneurs here, is Profit First by Mike Michalowicz. Don't ask me to spell Michalowicz, but just look up Profit First on Amazon as a book, and changed my business model because it does encourage us to pay ourselves first, but it also has some really brilliant ways to make sure that we do take a profit on our business. And I think that's going to be vital now more than ever, as all of our budgets are really being constricted. Our expenses have gone down, but so is our revenue. So I think that's going to be really valuable for us looking forward. Do generate multiple streams of income, but if you can't control the money coming in now, a billion different revenue generators aren't going to help you if you still end up broke at the end of the year.
Yeah, that's great point. And that's something that we probably will cover in upcoming webinars is diversifying income. You know, what things can you do? What tools can you use? What's the strategy for taking content that you have already and turning it into other, you know, ways to repurpose? It's a whole topic and conversation in and of itself. So we'll certainly get into that.
Sorry. See kids at home. I would say for me right now, I'm diversifying the audience I'm in. I'm diversifying the audience right now I'm in. Sorry, that was my son home, not realizing I'm on a call. Where I said earlier, I have a very strong e-learning platform, and I'm going back to my basic roots of where I started. And now that virtual is becoming like crazy right now for a lot of these universities and everything, I'm going into a different audience pool, and I'm seeing some good results with it because they need help right there right now, and they're looking for some resources with some expertise, and I can offer that. So I would say go back to where some of your roots, where you started, and you might see some real opportunities open up for you right now, given this whole virtual climate. Are we on?
Yeah, I'm still here.
I'm still here. Did John get paused?
I think JP might have paused. Uh-oh.
Okay, Shawn, you're running the show now.
Nice, we're running the show.
A recipe for success right there.
Yes. Oh, I guess this is where I have to step in. For anybody that doesn't know me, I'm Shirley. I'm the customer support person with Karma, and apparently the temporary host. We did have one more question. Yeah, JP just dropped. And that was, and if you guys don't have time, that's okay. We can quickly get through the rest of this. But they said, I have a conference, make their speaker event a virtual conference, but drastically reduce the speaker fee and the length of the presentation. How do you suggest working with this? So basically, they drastically, because it was a virtual conference and they changed the time of the length of the presentation, they wanted to reduce the speaker fee. Are you guys okay with that? What do you guys say?
I would encourage that speaker to have a conversation with whoever the decision maker is and circle back around to the value that they're providing around the problem that needs solving. And so I'll just pull something out of the air. Let's say it's a work from home presentation. So they're teaching everybody how to be more productive working from home. If they can quantify the effect of that information not being there, as in here's the lost productivity, here's how many people are going to be goofing off, here's what your revenue slip is going to be this year, then they have some ground to stand on for negotiating their fee back up. But if it's just the same canned presentation that solves an amorphous problem like productivity, for instance, but we don't know what that looks like in your industry or with your audience, it's going to be really tough to justify anything but a reduced fee at that point.
Well, that was so good, I can't improve on it.
Yes, Shawn, that was great. Thank you. I'll remember that now.
Okay.
All right, do you want to do your wrap up?
This is this is in true fashion of internet technology and us all working from home. Internet connections, of course. Luckily, they happened at the very end. So I guess first of all, I just want to thank everybody so much for participating and for coming to join this webinar, but also a special thank you to our panelists for taking time out of your day to share all these great tips and help for us to be proactive during this time. So give yourself we'll do a round of applause. I wish we had a little sound effect for it, but thank you to everybody. And in wrapping up, we do have a Facebook group that we're launching, and we're going to be trying to build community in a number of different ways. Part of our goal in the long term, we do have software, and that's karmaspeaker.com. But I think we also want to not only help, we just want to connect people with each other, and then we want to connect our users with each other as well. So one of the first things we're going to be doing is a Facebook group that's going to expand into other areas too. But if you go to karmaspeaker.com/Facebook, that will redirect you to the group. You can join there. We're going to be having some of this dialogue there. We're going to start talking about practices and tools and techniques that we can use. If you're a Karma customer, thank you for your support. And if you're not, we will be raising prices in this year, and that will be only for new customers. It'll be grandfathered in if you're currently a customer, but it's a good time to join. We're also doing weekly podium group calls with Shirley. She's our support rock star, and support doesn't even begin to describe all the amazing things that Shirley does. If anybody's a Karma customer, they know it probably worked with Shirley. We're also, this is a new thing for everybody, but we talked about what are we doing during this downtime. And one of the things we're doing that we couldn't have the time to do before was redesign the interface. So we're working on a really new, modern, clean interface that's going to be a lot more polished in kind of 2020. So that's the thing that we were able to do as a team with this downtime, is focus on making this experience a little better for you. And we're here to support you. I think that, we want to learn what works best, and we want to share that information with each other and create, kind of in the spirit of karma, this community that helps and gives back and adds more value, and the whole is more than the sum of the parts. So those are the things that we want to be doing in the near future, is really building a system of support where we help one another and we help share these strategies, and we look at each other in support as complementary and collaborative, as opposed to competitive. So thank you again. We appreciate everybody's time. I learned a lot, and I'm really appreciative of everyone sharing their insights and strategies. So have a good rest of your day, and let's go forward strong together.
Thank you, everyone. Optimism.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Okay, we done?
We are.
Damn. Thank you, guys, everyone.
Enjoyed hearing you.
Yeah, thank you all.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you again. I would love to get to know each of you individually at some time, but yeah, we've taken a lot of your time.
What are you doing this weekend?
Well, I'm going to be going to a party. And
Well, or how about Monday? Monday's good for me.
Yeah, I'll reach out.
I'm wide open.
I got you. I'll reach out. I'll send an email, and I'd love